Well, for more on this unfortunate ill that is still thriving in the Nigerian society, I'm joined in studio by the Executive Director and founder of Media Concern for Women and Children, also known as MediaCon. She's Dr. Princess Olufemi Kayode. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. I must say, let's just do a background here. Looking at these reasons, they really do look flimsy. In terms of women who feel that the treatment they're receiving is justified, for instance, for burning food, going out without permission. What are your thoughts on that?
It's very interesting that when you look at the reasons, just like you said, they are flimsy. Based on the perception of the women who are in that situation, that would look like that is the reason. I mean, I was cooking, I burned the food, I got him angry. I did not ask permission, I just maybe stepped out, I didn't really tell him I was going for whatever reason, and then of course he lashes out at me. But if you look at the deeper reasons, it's not just because they did that. This has to do with the men themselves having issues with themselves, and sometimes some of them it has to do with their job, sometimes it has to do with their own personality, sometimes it has to do with their own childhood background images and issues, and their own upbringing in the way they've grown up with the society, their own particular circles. And so the men lash out at the women. The women take those flimsy excuses because that's the reason. Well, that attack came because I burned the food. So he beat me because I burned the food. But that's not really the underlying factor there. It's the guy has issues. And then the woman who also takes it also have different issues. Like we're looking at cultural issues. We're looking at even religious issues. The man is always right. The man is the one who has the authority. You don't have any authority. If he says sit there, you sit there. Women are heard and women are seen and not heard. And so you don't have an opinion. I can remember as growing up, my mom didn't have any opinion. I can remember my father always says, "What do you know?" I grew up in that kind of environment. What do you know? And so it's affecting her today. She's outlived him. He died at 83, but today she's going to 70. And my mom really doesn't have a mind of her own.
Now I know you were exposed to that setting, and you also went through some form of abuse. Yeah. The truth is, we did try to get some people to tell their stories, because it's in sharing your story that you could be closer to a solution. But we did not have one success story except you.
There are, but there are few.
I know that's the thing, that there are few, and in a way, it seems like that is the fuel that is, that makes this ill persist in the society, because people don't really want to talk about it. At least from what I'm reading with the research done on domesticviolence.com.ng, it's talking about silence and stigma. So what lesson can we draw from people like you who have been through it, and you've obviously come out of it, and you're telling your story, and you're clearly doing fine? Why are people afraid to take that plunge?
Oh, for a lot of reasons. And I will say it's not just a Nigerian issue. The same thing happening even with developing countries across Africa, across developing countries as well as developed country. You have this violence against women is happening everywhere. But the thing there is, what you want to look at it also, what do we have in place? If I step out and say I'm being battered in my home, like some of the reasons there are financial reasons. Yes. There is nothing in society that prepares me to come out of my home with children. And I can tell you that. I work with survivors. There is no plan for them, whether by government or by private sectors. And you find that the little few of us who are working with the survivors, it's train us to actually, and there's no funding for that. That means that, okay, I've stepped out of my home, I need a new place to stay, I need to start a livelihood, even for those who actually are educated, and even for those who have their businesses. And I can give an example. A woman discovered her husband was molesting her daughter, one of them, the eldest, and she was able to step out to the church to tell her church that, see what is going on in my home. They call the man, and the man comes back home, beats her up and the children. Now she runs out to the police station. The man, whatever game he played with the police, did not really respect the authority of the police. Then she was directed to us. We moved on to social welfare. At the end of the day, as at that time, the answer was they could take the children from her. But we were like, then what happens to her? She's a non-offending parent.
Yes.
And so she doesn't have to lose her children. But there's no provision for her and her children, as much as Lagos State is trying. And so what do we have to do? The burden falls on us as an organization to source for money to get a new home for her. Her family has turned their back on her. The church that she worships, there's nobody on her side. She's just alone. This is a businesswoman who had her salon, had her equipment, had everything, and she has to relocate. She's just getting herself together after 5 years.
5 years.
Because we moved everything to a new location. Her business is not thriving there. She has to begin to try different little things, And so the burden still comes back to the organization because we still have to begin to source for money to repay her rent, and put the children in school. So it is a problem. Society is not ready to help.
But society, like you said, is responsible to some extent for the treatment which these women get in terms of, you know, what we're told in religion,
stigma,
what we're told regarding culture. Woman is to be seen and not necessarily heard. You know, so society should actually
do something.
Try to mend what they started. But what do we need to see? I just want you to give us points because of time.
We actually need the society, and then we'll talk about the religious bodies. We need the church to recognize that men have issues. It's not just women.
Yes,
men have issues. And when men have issues, unlike abroad where they will, there's a marriage going on and these two people are not getting along, they don't just divorce them. They have to go through certain things first to see how they can mend that relationship. Men go through anger management. We need to begin to understand that we have men who are volatile, who have issues that need to be dealt with. And apart from spiritually, we need them to go through therapy. And it can be Christian therapy, it can be Muslim therapy, but whatever it is, they need to go through therapy. And so that we can try to begin to soften the men that we have. And then the women also have the issues. We have mothers who are raising their daughters, who are forcing them to get married. Oh, you're getting too old. Won't you go get a husband? And some women are also in love with marriage, with the idea of marriage, and not really the particular person that you really want to get married to. So anybody comes along is a candidate for marriage. And so there are quite a number of things. Society needs to know first education. Getting married, you need to know that you are ready for marriage. You need to really be a man to know you're ready for marriage. You need to be a woman in all aspects. I mean, you're mentally, it's not just about academics. Because not everybody will go to school. And those who are not going to school too, they need to know that they don't need to be child marriage where you're just 15 and 16, they pushed you up into a home. There's no way that child will be able to manage a home. At the end of the day, she gets battered, she gets abused, and that's what the children will see. And the children, the circle keeps going. We keep having more abuses because the kind of children we're raising, it's what they witness. No matter how much you say, I'm not going to be like that, they end up most of the time tending to be like what they saw as children. They repeat, it becomes a repeated, say, my father used to batter my mother, I'm not going to batter my wife. But some of them cannot, be strong enough to do that. Awareness creation, we need to educate ourselves more on this. We don't want to lose women. We've lost quite a number of women. We don't need to lose women anymore. And then we need to be open as government also. We need a lot of centers that are open to actually welcome women. And we need a lot of homes. Most of them are being run privately. The majority that we have are private. And the government needs to step up on attending to women issues in the country.
Well, Dr. Olufemi Kayode, I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you too for
I do hope you will oblige us in the future because, in truth, this is not a discussion for one day. So I'm actually making you make this promise.
I promise.
She promises to join us again on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been speaking with Dr. Olufemi Kayode. She is the Executive Director and Founder of Media Concern for Women and Children, speaking to us about domestic violence. Still to come on Network Africa. It's our Africa Tech segment, and we look at the relevance of research to national development.